to our last day of our first ever virtual annual meeting. I don't know about you, I'm a little tired, but I've really enjoyed all the things that I've seen. The presentations have been amazing, the workshops, the demonstrations. You guys have really knocked it out of the park. So I can't thank you enough for making this such a success. So yay to everybody all around the world. And just a reminder, we have until, or you have until 11 to vote for the best presentation and the best SBX demonstration or exhibit. I knew that we had some problems with our survey, so please go ahead and use Attendify. There is a little, I believe, a little trophy cup, says surveys and voting. Go click on that and please let us know who you pick. What I'd like to do now is introduce Bobby Carlton. He is the outgoing chair for COOP Subcommittee. He is from Pantex, and I will let him tell you all that he's done for the COOP Subcommittee this year.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning in some parts of the country. I just want to take the time to review what the Continuity of Operations Subcommittee has done over the last year, and really want to start out with, I was a little bit bummed that we weren't going to be in San Francisco for EMI SIG. Obviously, everybody on the call that's participated in EMI SIG understands that the real meat on the bone for EMI SIG is those sidebar conversations that you have, some of the conversations, some of the discussions that you have over a cold adult beverage are always nice. But I will tell you that this has exceeded my expectations. Very valuable. I was even able to juggle some work and able to get into to review some of the briefings. And so kudos to Jen and staff, especially I'm going to send a special shout out to Vince Salazar that has kind of held my hand this last year and kept me walking straight and narrow to make sure that I did everything that I needed to do and I wasn't dropping the ball for my COOP subcommittee. I also want to say thank you to our DOE advisor, Dr. Steve McGuire, has really set the stage for growth of this COOP subcommittee. And moving forward, the collaboration with the Continuity Program Office is very good. We communicate. I feel like we're not pulling in opposite directions. We have parallel vision, and we're running to support the vision of the overall COOP program throughout the country. So thanks to Steve. Steering committee, John Lombard has always been a good sounding board and has gone and helped us when we need to have some of those difficult discussions or questions with the steering committee. So I appreciate John's support. And something that I'm very proud of is federal field representative, Sybil Chandler. This year we were able to get that position approved through our charter. And as I understand, some of the other subcommittees are taking our lead and are following our lead in getting this position. This is helping really coordinate overall efforts between contractors and feds and the support. And I really think that this is going to be something to benefit us in the future. And I would be wrong to not say Janice Leach. Janice Leach has jumped in with both feet this last year. And y'all that know me know that I'm very direct personality. And some people love me for that and some people don't. But Janice has jumped right in, and she has helped me push this to the next level. And I am telling you, this is kind of my going away speech, because I know that we're going to leave the COOP subcommittee even better, in better hands than it was in the last 2 years. And Janice has got very good connections throughout the enterprise, very passionate, very professional. So I am very pleased to be leaving the COOP subcommittee with Janice Leach. And we'll talk a little bit about who else is going to help her on the leadership team moving forward. Membership for 2019 was 134 for the COOP subcommittee, but I will tell you, if you get onto any of the COOP subcommittee monthly calls, it may be as low as 80, but maybe as high as 160. I am very proud to say that the numbers have grown a little bit, because with Sherman and Courtney doing such an amazing job as they've done in the past, I didn't know what kind of participation it would have. Not everybody wants to listen to Bobby all the time. So but our numbers grew. So I was happy about that. And I was happy with the monthly communications, the presentations that we had on a monthly basis. I think that we continue to get better and better content, better information being passed, better coordination amongst the enterprise. So that's something I'm very proud of. So our accomplishments have been a COOPSC meeting. I can't say it enough. Our oversight, Rodney Barnes, and my management, Amity Hahn and Daniel Glees, are always supporting anything and everything that has to do with EMI SIG, no matter what subcommittee it is. And COOP is no exception. They always bend over backwards to help us, and they were supportive of us hosting the COOP spring meeting. And I think that spring meeting was a huge success. Y'all that attended, we had 38 individuals from headquarters and 21 labs that represented Pantex. We had some that had to pull out last minute because y'all that remember, that was in the spring. I believe it was the first week in March, March 3rd through 4th, actually. And that was right when this COVID stuff started kicking off. So a lot of people had already started trying to limit travel and those kinds of things. So very good meeting, very good discussions were had. We created an AAR to have some takeaways. You know, those meetings are only fruitful if we get actionable items to make ourselves better, not only personally at our own sites, but also throughout the enterprise. And that's something that we did. We created some takeaway items that are being used to plan and coordinate some of the objectives driving the COOP subcommittee forward. You'll see that Janice Leach has taken on something that I've been trying to work on for the last couple of years, and as priorities were always dictating the lack of time and effort. She took this with 100% of her time to make sure that we got this thing going this year with the ability to continue and complete it in next year's objectives. But the COOP coordinator's good practice guideline, she's actually working with headquarters personnel that are currently creating a position description and an operation checklist. She's making sure that we're providing a guide that new onboarding COOP professionals can use, and 20-year on-the-job COOP coordinators can reference to get information to make sure that they have all the correct process and procedures. And like I said, she's coordinating that effort with the Continuity Program Office. So we're going stride for stride with what their mission is and what we're communicating out to the COOP subcommittee. So that's a very big feather in the hat moving forward. And I know Janice is going to do an awesome job with that. She's already done a huge amount of lifting on that, and I appreciate the work that she has done to move that forward. We spotlighted some presentations that were really jaw-dropping and eye-opening at the spring meeting. We talked about the year of communication. We talked about that was our theme year this year, and the COOP spring meeting followed that guide in creating and developing and scheduling the presenters, and we had some awesome presenters. Continuity Program Office provided some outstanding presentations. One that I must say that we've came back and implemented here at Pantex and are starting to implement in other areas in their enterprises is the PACE methodology, just talking about critical resource development of facility-specific communication pathways, primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency planning for COOP. The PACE method, it really is something that caught my attention, and that was Continuity Program Office personnel that delivered that message, and it was very good, and we appreciated that. Our objectives moving forward, this is, Janice would articulate this message a lot better than I would, but I've got volunteered to do this since I'm going out. So I apologize up front, Janice, if I don't do this as good a service as you did yesterday on the call. But the objectives moving forward are that COOP coordinator's guide in working with headquarters. That's something that is going to be a huge benefit to young and old, as far as the COOP world. COOP coordinators, IT, business continuity professionals are going to be able to use that as a reference tool and make sure that we are all on the same play sheet and making sure that we are at least setting people up for success and making sure that we give them all the tools that they need to be successful, especially when they come in and they're given a box and an order and said, hey, go develop a COOP program. We want to get better and we want to support those folks in that. The shape of the post-pandemic planning efforts are something that is very big. Everybody throughout the enterprise, whether you're emergency management or COOP, have lessons to learn from this COVID response. You know, we heard of our lessons learned, and a lot of people were talking about the accomplishments, but there was a lot of things that we can improve on throughout the enterprise, and that's something that that very much Janice is using the COOP subcommittee as a communication hub for all the rest of the COOP coordinators and COOP professionals throughout the enterprise to share, collaborate on lessons learned, best business practices moving forward, so we can make the enterprise COOP program better. So that's another thing. She's very vocal about making sure that everybody on the COOP subcommittee, not just the leadership, not just those folks like Bobby that like to speak loud and plug in on calls, but everybody, even those people that are a little more meek in their conversation. We're really trying to pull those conversations and make sure that we're getting everybody's input to make this COOP subcommittee as good as it could be. We're improving resiliency planning. You know, as we're returning to work efforts, everybody is uniform using the plan that the COOP program office and emergency management helped to work together to create this return to work plan. We think that there's some lessons learned in the way we've implemented that, not just at Pantex, but throughout the enterprise, and we're going to share that. And we're going to share that using EDMS and the tools that EMI SIG have given us, and that's what we're really trying to focus on, that information sharing. So
Bobby, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. You guys have been knocking it out of the park, and I attest that Janice is going to continue the charge, so I appreciate it. Next, I would like to introduce DMSC by our very own Walt Schock. Walt, take it away.
All right, thanks, Jen. Appreciate that. And first off, I want to echo what Bobby was saying. A big shout out to Jen and her crew to really pulling off an amazing conference. I mean, the first time I've ever attended a virtual conference, and under the current, current conditions and things like that, and having to pull it together, I think it was an amazing 2 weeks. And I know that I got a lot out of it, and it was great. And I appreciate you and your team very much so. As Jen said, my name is Walt Schock. I am from the Nevada National Security Site, and my vice chair is Carl Mazzola from PEC. And without him, we would not have been as successful this year as we were. Also, tons of support from our DOE advisor, Ken Thomas, much appreciated, and our steering committee advisor, Daniel Gleaves from Pantex. We had a slight increase in our current membership from last year. We're kind of a captive group, small across the enterprise, just a group of meteorologists talking weather stuff, but pretty interesting stuff. And, we accomplished a good amount of things this year, but none of that would be able to be accomplished without the amazing support from our admin coordinator, Berna Woods, and our support coordinator, Singh. So that is amazing. Kudos to you guys, much appreciated. So little overview of our meeting this year before getting into accomplishments. We had 29 attendees virtually, which for us, that's pretty much the most we've ever had at one of our conferences. in person, so to speak. And it was great, and a lot of interesting comments and questions and interactions. We had discussions about an instrument called a LiDAR, which is basically using lasers to measure wind speeds aloft. We had talked about specialized observations in the atmosphere for turbulence will be used or can be used for consequence assessment activities. And then we also had discussions about weather forecast modeling and how tweaks in those models can really be applied to using that data in consequence assessment modeling for longer term releases that we need to predict out into the future, as well as how those models are being used across the complex. So, and which will probably turn into another action item for us sometime in 21. So that's exciting. Always good to have those conversations. So this year, what we have accomplished is that we've drafted the first DOE meteorological program guide and what a qualified meteorologist for DOE means. We were able to put that together earlier in August, and we got it out to our membership, and we're currently under review, going through our first review of that document. Within that, we've also included something that's going to be a questionnaire that we are going to send out to the meteorologists at the sites that participate to ask about what are the capabilities that you give to your site. We know the missions across the complex are wide and varied, so we want to capture all those. And what we're going to do is put together a little brochure that we can, give to the management so they know what the meteorology programs can provide to them. And then we've also drafted a strategy to organize multi-year or out-year assist visits where a couple people that meteorologists go to a particular DOE site and review their meteorology program and give them advice on how to make some improvements, tell them what they're doing great. And then fourth is not on here is that we continue to coordinate and share information across the complex. So that we don't reinvent the wheel and we capitalize on each other's successes. Our objectives for next year are to finish the review and finalize the MET program guide and the information about a qualified meteorologist. We're going to also finalize the brochure and get that out to all the sites and all the managers there. And then taking the strategy, we're going to put forward an idea or suggested list of visits to the sites to review their programs. It's not review per se, but just to make sure that they're doing things according to the voluntary consensus standards and what improvements can be made and how we can help. And then what we're going to be doing with, we always like to increase our membership, but I know our who we attract is different than most, since we're kind of specialized in some degree, but then we're also looking to collaborate with other EMI SIG subcommittees like STARS and SEMTECH. Consequence assessment is very important and a very close link with meteorology. And then we'll probably need, when we are able to get back to the field after the COVID settles down, visit these sites, but then we will put out reports for the sites to help them with their programs. And I think we've really laid out a good successes this year, leaving it into future for the next leadership, which we had our elections, and our chair for next year is going to be Walt Schock from NNSS, and the vice chair is going to be Carl Mazzola. We're changing our meeting times to a second Wednesday, and we are working on modifying our slogan a little bit, and it's actually out for approval and review by our committee. But that's my report, unless there's any questions.
I appreciate it, Walt, and I can't wait to hear what that slogan will be. Can you give us kind of a hint?
Yeah, what we had was a little wordy, so we're paring it down a little bit. What we're working with right now is enhancing DOE meteorological program effectiveness through coordination and encouraging atmospheric research.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And
Thank
now
you very
we will
much.
be hearing from the Emergency Public Information Subcommittee. Our vice chair will be standing in for Rin, and that is Brenda Graham. Brenda, it's over to you, my dear.
Thanks, Jen. I'm waiting for the screen to change. They haven't changed it yet. We're still on meteorological. But I am Brenda Graham. I'm from the Pantex plant, and I am the vice chair this year and also next year for the EPI committee. Unfortunately, Rin was not able to be here with us today, but I will stand in for her in her absence. I want to also reiterate what Bobby Carlton and Walt said about Jen and all the EMI SIG people. I was one of those ones that said this can never happen virtually, and y'all have done an amazing job, and all the technical people that have helped. It has been amazing and good to just be able to click in and see so many different courses. So thank you, Jen, and all your group for all that you've done. I want to thank our DOE advisor, Ken Thomas, and Michelle Baker as our steering committee advisor. They have been instrumental in guiding us through this year, and thank you so much to both of y'all for helping us. We do have our current membership at 65, and with that, Carol Eifert is our administrative coordinator and always so supportive. She has just been Rin and I's backbone. She has helped us through so much this year. And Carol, we love you and thank you, and are excited to see pictures of this new grandbaby that's coming tomorrow. And of course, Bernie. Bernie's always there for us as well. And thank you, Bernie, for all the help and that you've guided us through over the years. So I'll go through what we've accomplished in 2019, 2020. You can see there that we've had a couple of courses there where we've reviewed, updated, and revised the content. The first one being the EPI 230 course, which was for social media. And the second one is the EPI 340, the Joint Information Center Management. We also, which is not up here, is we took a survey. Speaking of courses, we sent a survey out to all of our membership and just ask our membership to please let us know how effective these online courses were. And so we did get the results of the survey, and it was interesting. I will say that we researched and identified the Microsoft Kaizala app that we used for the social media simulator. Britt Hansard from Argonne was instrumental in doing all of this. We can take no credit. Britt did it all. Amazing job. He had a demonstration, an SBX on here, and it was really good. There's a good chance that that's going to become a great tool. Our 2020-21 objectives, as you see there, the beta test and launch our EPI 230 course, the social media online. Beta test and launch the EPI 340 Joint Information Center Management online course. So both of those, beta test and launch both of those. We of course want to test and launch the EMI SIG social media simulator application. Excited about that one. For those of you all that deal with social media, it is when you do exercises or drills, having that simulator to where you can go back and forth. Pantex and Y12 currently have one that we're able to use back and forth, and it just really aids in communication during a drill or exercise, or drill or exercise, not a real event. And so then later, when this silly pandemic is over, one of the things that we had wanted to do this year was we wanted to benchmark other sites in person, just so you learn so much by what are their processes, how do they do their exercises. And I've invited through this past year, I've invited several people to come and be a observer at any one of Pantex's exercises, and Rena's done the same thing at Y12. You just learn so much from different things, but we hope to be able to benchmark those sites and see what we can all improve on. For our support required, just assistance with increasing membership, as we've all said. We have probably the quietest subcommittee in all of the group, and we're not supposed to. We're all supposed to be communicators, but our group seems to be pretty quiet. So we just really want to increase our membership here, and then collaborate with other subcommittees. We are already collaborating with the training exercises and drills committee, and so, but we would like to collaborate with other committees. And then just our instructional systems designer for courses. So just help with how can we design our courses better. Other than that, we've just had a great year. The pandemic has caused a little bit of delay in some of our things just by not being able to everybody be at their sites and working, but we've had a great year and look forward to next year.
Well, imagine that, Miss Brenda. You are not as verbose as others, and this is a running joke that of all the subcommittees, EPI is the most quietest, yet they are supposed to be sharing the most information. And so that, yeah, that's our running joke. And I'm not surprised at all that yours was short and sweet, so I appreciate it. Next on deck, we will have Jillian Const from LANL, who will be our outgoing chair for ERASC, and she will tell us all that they've done this year. Thank you so much, Jillian. Thank you, Brenda, and thank you, Jillian, for stepping up next.
Thank you, Jen. So as Jen said, I'm Jillian Const. I'm with LANL. I am the outgoing chair for the Emergency Readiness Assurance Subcommittee. My vice chair this year, and will be the vice chair for next year as well, is Tracy Arnwine from Savannah River. So thank you very much, Tracy, for all of your efforts and support. For your awareness, the incoming chair that we have voted in is Caroline Ruppert from Savannah River Nuclear Solutions. So I think Caroline and Tracy teamed up together can definitely help move ERASC even further into the future here and get us accomplishing even more things if that's possible. So the other people I would like to thank, of course, are the advisory committee. Kenneth Thomas has always been a great supporter, attending all our meetings, giving us updates from headquarters, and pushing things forward when we have requests or issues or concerns. So we definitely appreciate him. And then also our steering committee advisor, Robert G. He's been instrumental as well in participating with us in all of our meetings, bringing up ideas, points, stuff from his facility as well. So definitely thank you to Kenneth and Robert there. Of course, as everyone else has said, a huge shout out to Jen and her team for all their support in this meeting. And then also throughout the year, Berna Woods has been our support mainly for our subcommittee, and she's amazing, phenomenal. We could not have functioned at all without her. So I will certainly miss her moving to a different subcommittee, but thank you so much, Berna, for all your support, and Jen and your team. The current membership that we have is 119 people, which is a pretty good number. I think you'll see in our support required. Of course, we always want more people, but we also want to focus on more active participation as well. So the numbers are great, but we need people in the meetings and signing up for the working groups and helping move our objectives forward. So we'll definitely be looking to that. And of course, a huge shout out to our subcommittee. Thanks to everybody who's been participating in our meetings, bringing up some good ideas for objectives to look into, doing the work to get products out and obtain information, benchmark. It's been huge. The presentations have been amazing. I've been able to watch some of them for sharing stuff, not just within our subcommittee, but with everybody in EMI SIG. So that's excellent. Thank you guys all so much for your hard work. I guess we'll talk about accomplishments from this year. So the main things that we were able to close out, you'll see on both sides here, accomplishments and objectives, a few of the training courses. So we've been tasked ourselves somewhere in between with looking at our courses related to readiness assurance from what was on the old site and trying to revamp those. So that has included looking at the change to 151.1 Delta, the anticipated updates with the guides and the CRAD, criteria review and approach document, and getting all of that integrated into those trainings while also getting it up with the new technology and looking at, some learning capabilities to try to make them a little more interactive and a little more interesting. So for this year, we did accomplish launching the Introduction to Emergency Exercise Program online course. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, it's pretty cool. We have a new senior exercise planner that we had take the course as well. So it's definitely a benefit to everybody who's, maybe looking to become an exercise planner or just has some background in it and wants a refresher. So that was an excellent achievement. And then also we collected some benchmarking issues for our, basically we're looking at issues management and issues improvement processes across the sites. It's something we hadn't really addressed as a subcommittee so much, but we all have to deal with it. So basically props to Ida from Pantex for working through that. We did a survey to try to gather some information on with some common themes that we saw in EA33 reports that maybe we could focus on to try to get some tools out that would help all of us across the complex. So that is going to be ongoing. We did the survey, we did the initial discussions, that was completed this year, but you'll see that on the objectives as well to actually look at what tools we want to produce going forward that could help people across the complex. Also, we had a lot of influence in the Emergency Management Readiness Assurance Program dashboard or tool, whatever we're calling it now. MRAPT is what I usually call it. Allison was great from headquarters. She had a working group, and we tried to loop in ERASC with that as well as much as we could and tried to influence, and we did influence and help improve that product. So now we're on the third cycle of using that product for reporting on the NNSA side. So that's pretty awesome. I think we've done a great job with that. The working group, as far as I understand, will continue, but it's mostly going to be tweaks at this point. So we're calling that one accomplished in terms of ERASC. So for our objectives for the coming year, which Caroline and Tracy will, I'm sure, lead us to great success in next year, are, like I said, 2 more classes or courses that we're working on for online learning to improve those and get those up to speed with all of the changes to the order and the guides. And that's the Readiness Assurance Overview, just generally what Readiness Assurance is about for DOE. And then managing corrective actions, which is actually somewhat linked into the issues management one that we talked about, number 4, to look at what we can implement for tools to help with issues management as well. We're also helping to beta test the ECRAD tool. We started that a little bit, and we've been doing that in conjunction with SEMTECH. And I forgot to mention, we're also working with the Training and Drill Subcommittee on those trainings as well. But the beta testing the ECRAD, they gave us some good demonstrations during the last 2 weeks. So that's pretty cool. And go in there and not try to break it, but, try to find some things that we could help improve and see how it's working for us and start actually actively using it as a group. So that's on the bill for next year. In terms of support required, we did say, of course, increase membership. But like I said, participation for us is really the key word there. So we want to make sure that we're getting people actively participating. And that'll be interesting to see as well. I had not mentioned yet that one of the other things we accomplished was we actually worked through a process for how we introduce a new subcommittee. So the process of talking about that within our subcommittee, doing some surveys, some votes, and then getting that approved by the steering committee. So we helped kind of trailblaze in that respect because there wasn't anything written down. And we worked through it. I think we definitely had a good process. And I believe Darren actually will be speaking for the new exercise subcommittee after me. So congratulations to Darren and the subcommittee. We expect great things. You guys have done great things within ERASC, and certainly Caroline and Tracy will be working very closely with him going forward to try to integrate all of the things that we share, since Readiness Assurance does incorporate exercises. So we'll be best buds for sure on that front. Other than that, collaborating with other subcommittees is always a big thing. Like we said, we'll be working with Training and Drills, SEMTECH, and the new exercise subcommittee at the very least, but we're always looking for other opportunities. We've talked about some things with SEMPER as well. So definitely looking forward to that. And of course, any assistance or support we need on the tech side for looking at the ECRAD, testing it out, and giving some feedback and suggestions. So other than that, that's a wrap. It's been a great 2 years with ERASC for me. So I appreciate everybody, all your support from all sides. And I'm really excited to see where Caroline and Tracy take this next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jillian. And apparently you haven't had enough abuse because you're going to be going over to another subcommittee. So you must really like us. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all your work. And I thank you for kind of being our guinea pig and helping us get this whole process. It's like our JB says, it's not fun to look at how sausage is made, but we do it. So I appreciate that so much. Our next subcommittee, we're doing really good on time. So our next subcommittee will be the First and Field Responders, presented by Mike Masters. Thank you, Mike. Take it away.
Thank you, Jen. Again, I'll continue to express our gratitude and appreciation for the conference or the annual meeting this year. I think it was a huge success as well, and we got a lot of positive feedback from the folks that participated from our subcommittee, and everybody was really, really excited about this opportunity, and hope that we can expand it and make it even better next year. So from the First and Field Responder Subcommittee, the leadership, the outgoing chair is myself, Mike Masters, and Mary Kay Monday from Y12 will be moving up into the new chair position, with a vice chair of Mike Brock from Pantex. That will be the new leadership in 2020, 2021. Our advisory group, we have Kenneth Thomas with us, and he's always participated in our meetings, and he's done a really good job keeping us informed. And then also we've had our steering committee advisor, who's Eugene McPeak, and I'm a card-carrying member of the Eugene McPeak fan club. He's been awesome with us. He's been very supportive. He's been a leading example of how people collaborate and work together, and he's really helped our subcommittee grow over the last few years. Membership currently sitting at 61. One thing about our membership that we noticed while we were meeting this week and last week was that we have several members that are approaching retirement. Everybody keeps saying 2 years and 2 years. And so we kind of had that aha moment yesterday during our meeting, and we're now going to be encouraging a lot of our sites that are represented to bring some successors in with them and to start integrating them into the meetings, so that as some of the senior leadership in our subcommittee start to seek other opportunities, the sites will continue to be represented and be active in the subcommittee. So Carol Eifert, there's not enough that we can say about her. She has a whole lot of tolerance and patience with us. We test her on many occasions. So we do appreciate her support, and Bernie also, we appreciate him. So in our 2019 and 2020 accomplishments this year, one thing that we have kind of discovered with the First and Field Responder Subcommittee and what EMI SIG has provided is a vehicle for us to influence and expand and to change emergency management within DOE, NNSA, and beyond that. We seem to people are coming into EMI SIG and reaching out to the First and Field Responders Subcommittee for help in their programs and in their communities. And so we found ourselves getting involved in a lot of different things this year. We created and submitted a survey because of the aqueous film forming foam that we use for firefighting operations. There's an issue or a concern in some of our complex facilities about the cancer that's associated with that. And so the Office of Sustainable Environmental Stewardship needed help so that they could identify potential environmental impacts. And so the First and Field Responder Subcommittee put together a survey, and we provided them with some data that hopefully helped them. We got into working with the Office of ES&H Reporting and Analysis, AU23, and in terms of how we provide fire loss data to that group as required by their order. And so we were helping them with that, and provided them with some feedback and some input on how we can improve the incident reporting. And we are going to continue to work with them in 2020-21. A group of folks from the Emergency Communications Preparedness Center, a Federal 911 focus group, reached out to us, and we have now a member of our subcommittee that's participating as a member of their focus group to provide insight, recommendations, and influence on Next Gen 911 and communications and emergency management. And then lastly, we're continuing, and this is a really important one. This is a big one that's taken a lot of time, but we're progressing with the establishment of our training enterprise, where we're using an off-the-shelf target solutions platform to provide a mechanism for our folks to share and collaborate training information and qualifications and credentials of our first and field responders. So we've kind of run into some issues that's kind of slowed us down a little bit there. One being that we have to get permission across the different sites to create this enterprise. And then in terms of moving on down to support required, some of our sites are having some IT barriers that's preventing them from participating in the training enterprise. And so in terms of what we can get from EMI SIG is maybe helping us try to navigate some of the issues that some of our sites are having with getting the training target solutions enterprise up and running. And so our objectives for 2020, 2021, we're going to continue to work on the target solutions enterprise. We need to get that permission and provide that access to all of our sites who are participating in that. We have a product out there called the Baseline Officer Qualification Document. We revisited that during the annual meeting this year, and we're going to get a subgroup together to review that to make sure that it's still current and relevant, and to see if there's anything we need to do to increase that. And as I said, we're going to continue to work with AU23 on implementing the National Fire Incident Reporting System. A really good idea that came out from our collaboration and our discussions this week was an after-action repository. Several sites have experiences with incidents, and from a field and first response perspective. And so the concept that was born was that we have a place where we put our after-action reports in a repository so that the other sites can go there and they could review those and review the experiences and use those as lessons learned for training and educating and informing their first responders and field responders. We also were going to be getting in and continuing to help the Office of Nuclear Safety, AU30, in the revision of the DOE 1066 standard, which is a fire protection standard that's referenced in DOE Order 420.1. And our emphasis there is to make sure that all the emergency management and emergency response requirements that are specified in the order 420.1 order and the 1066 standard align with DOE 151.1 Delta. So we'll be paying close attention to that revision and making sure that everything lines up there. And then finally, and what we think is the most important thing for this next year, and we're really excited about, is we want to, as was mentioned by ERASC, we want to team with the Emergency Exercise Subcommittee drill and exercise development. We think that we have some resources to kind of help expand that drill and exercise experience, and we want to be an active part in that and supporting Darren in that new subcommittee.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Anything else to add, or was that your spiel?
I guess that's my spiel. Are you expecting something else?
No.
Some kind of dance or?
Yes. No, that is plenty. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm just reading the comments and in our Attendify, and you guys are just, you say so many nice things about us, but I've got to tell you, it's not Jen, it is the team. I have an amazing team, and there's no way one person can do what you guys say that we did. So please, all the team, I appreciate your efforts. I just have the best team. What can I say? And thank you for agreeing with me. So up next, we will have Cliff Glantz with STARS. Cliff, I think you're about ready to take off. Is that right?
That is correct. I am reporting to you today from the executive jet, which is provided to the STARS chair. It's a very, very nice perk. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to pass the keys on to Melissa Douglas at Oak Ridge. She will be taking over the STARS chair position. Chuck Reeves will be one of our two vice chairs, and he gets a Piper Cub. And I will be the second vice chair, the third member of our leadership team, and I get a senior citizen tricycle. So it makes perfect sense. I'll start off by talking about why we're having three members of our leadership team. Well, first of all, we are a very large and diverse group covering a huge range of technical areas involving hazards assessment, both RAD and non-RAD, and consequence assessment and protective actions. And so having three leaders provides us a little bit more technical diversity on our team. But this year we had Ivy Operdane, who was booted upstairs to the stars uh, to the EMI SIG steering committee. So I was all by myself in a leadership position for a few months. And that really drove home the idea that we never know when a leader will move on to a new position or get busy with other items. So we wanted to have three leaders so that we can always have two available if the third person is busy. Also to lighten the load of our leaders who have to do quite a bit of stuff, preparing for meetings, preparing and reviewing meeting notes, and overseeing what's going on in the working group. So we're going to experiment with this a little bit. Of course, having a vice chair provides a way for a future chair to learn more about the organization and how it runs. But having the outgoing chair, if they're willing, serve as a vice chair provides a little bit of institutional memory and guidance. And so we'll see how this works, and that'll be one of the things we'll report back to the EMI SIG, how those having those three leaders support the organization. As far as our membership, we estimate about 80 some odd members in our organization based on the attendance at our various meetings. But we know there's a lot more that monitor what goes on and come out and participate more actively when there's a pressing issue, such as the review of the new DOE guide or review of the CRAD. Whenever we have an active issue like that, it brings out a lot more folks who are participating. So we know we have folks monitoring our activities, even if they're not showing up at our monthly meetings. So we have quite a few accomplishments this fiscal year. We completed our emergency management analyst training module, and that has been passed on to the EMI SIG administrators, and they are going to work closely with us to convert that to an e-learning module. And we think that's probably a better way of providing training than just having a unfacilitated PowerPoint that's available. We also assisted with the development of a chemical screening repository. That is a very new product that STARS has produced, and we're continuing to develop and monitor that to help the sites coordinate their screening of hazardous chemicals. We received steering committee approval to update the STARS QA resource page, and we are very pleased to announce the addition of Savannah River's puff plume model to our software quality assurance toolbox. So that's a very good accomplishment. We're involved in a number of cooperative activities with other subcommittees, and we're very excited about the opportunity to work cooperatively on issues that that affect STARS, but also overlap with the areas of concern of other subcommittees. And that includes working on the UAV, the Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Working Group, that is being spearheaded by our friends at SEMTECH. As hazards assessors and consequence assessors, we're very excited about this new technology and exploring ways that it could significantly improve our ability to analyze and respond to an emergency event. We view a UAV as an instrument where you could put a rad or a chemical monitoring instrument on, and all of a sudden we can start making measurements in a plume that will not jeopardize the health or safety of our field monitoring personnel and provide a lot more timely information back into our EOCs. So that's a very exciting activity that's going on. We're also working cooperatively with our meteorologist colleagues at the DMSC, and we're reviewing their meteorological program guide for where it overlaps into the consequence assessment arena. For our objectives in the coming year, following up on our EMAT e-learning training, we're going to be developing a brand new module to focus on EPHAs. And we also have a module in the works that will be focusing on training new consequence assessment personnel. So excited about that. We're very pleased that that the protective action criteria, or TEAL's temporary emergency exposure limit products, and the chemical mixture methodology are now continuing their work and resuming their work, and our subcommittee will be providing oversight and testing of the new databases and software products that are going to be coming out of that initiative. We're going to work to update our STARS web pages. We have a huge number of informational web pages that are available to support the DOE community and other members of our sector. And those pages haven't been extensively updated in a number of years, so we need to revisit them and improve them. And we are going to continue to support these joint working group efforts that are underway. So support required from our friends with the steering committee and from our leadership. We want to find a way, it's a priority for our incoming chair to find a way to increase membership participation in our working groups and user groups. And we will be talking with the steering committee about ways that other subcommittees have done that and see what sort of assistance can be provided to us. And of course, we're looking for ongoing opportunities to collaborate with other EMI subcommittees on cross-cutting activities. So I think that is it.
Well, Cliff, as always, we appreciate your sense of humor. It goes a long way because you keep Verna very busy. So we do appreciate it. That's one of the perks of working with you and a lot of our other leaders. The sense of humor is wonderful and it makes for a fun job. So I appreciate that. Next up, we have Jesse from the SEMPER subcommittee. And I will turn it over to Jesse. Thank you, Jesse. Are you, oh, wait, I've got to know. Are you wearing Bermuda shorts today?
No, my boss is in the office, so my fund ran out. So hey, thanks, Jen. And then I'd like to echo with everybody else too. This has been a great conference. And I think we missed out, or I missed having face-to-face interactions with people, but man, I've been getting pummeled with information sharing over emails and everything else. So I think that that's a really good outcome, probably more so than I have in the past even. So kudos to your team. I know that took a lot of effort to scramble and change things up, and I think it was very successful. So yeah, so I'm Jesse Sievers. I'm from Lanel, and my phone is ringing. I'm from Lanel here. This is my outgoing year for the subcommittee. So I've had 2 years. It's been a pleasure to help found this subcommittee. So it just started in 2019. Special thanks to Amity Hahn. I don't know if you're on Amity, but she was my vice chair for the last 2 years, has been an absolute rock star. A couple of times it was actually the EOC was going to be activated, and within 10 minutes I said, hey, can you pinch hit for me and take the committee, take this meeting? And she jumped in and did it on multiple occasions. So, and she did a ton of legwork in the background to make sure we kept it running. So thank you very much, Amity. It's been a pleasure working with you. And I look forward to collaborating outside of the subcommittee too. Next year's leadership is the chair is going to be Jillian Const. So Jillian, before I promoted her here to a team leader at Lanel, she was an emergency planner, and I think the best one in the complex from what I've ever seen. I think it's in really good hands moving forward. She has a very intimate relationship with emergency planning, understands it, understands the big picture. So I think we're in really good hands as far as continuity of the subcommittee and growing our mission and the vision. Vice Chair is going to be David Silver. He's an emergency planner here at Lanel. We picked him up from Santa Fe. He was the emergency management director for the city there. So lots of experience as well. So those two are going to be powerhouses, and I look forward to seeing where it heads after that. So as far as some additional thank yous for the last couple of years here, John Riley was our steering committee advisor. John is very soft-spoken, but extremely powerful mentor and guide, and has really kept us on track and focused. Both in SEMPER and then for me personally outside of it too. So I'm really thankful for having him. We lucked out having him as our advisory or our steering committee advisor. And then as far as from your team, Jen, Carol Eifert is a rock star. She's been herding cats for us, and I'm probably the most stray and feral of those cats. And she did an excellent job of keeping us in check. And so did Singh too. Before I know there was a turnover in the middle. They switched. Good, clean turnover, and same kudos go to him. So thank you for your team on that. Our current membership is at 88, so we've grown from 0 to 88. So I think as far as 2019 to 2020 accomplishments, that's a pretty big win. And I think we want to continue that. And just like Jill said in her presentation, getting meaningful participation is definitely a goal. So for 2019, 2020 accomplishments, one, we created a template repository. That's going to carry over into 2021 objectives here too. So we want to put a place for people to put templates that they use for different types of documents. Specifically, and I know I'm carrying over to the right side of the slide here, but we want to get an emergency management plan template out so that anybody that's looking for a template to jump into, if they're having to redesign one or put one all together themselves, they'd have a place to just jump in and go grab that. That goes for other items too, MOUs, MOAs, EPIPs, EPAPs, ARPs, ERPs, AOPs, and the like. So we're hoping to just get templates for people to make their lives a little bit easier if they're just looking for a place to start. So we started that template repository, and that'll carry over. The second thing we did in 19 and 20 was we managed and compiled data from the COVID-19 lessons learned e-tool. So we were lucky enough to be able to help support that, and we felt from an emergency planning standpoint, we could help, get people's documents uploaded into EDMS, and then also just the lessons learned from from the different sites to collect that information. So we did do that. That'll actually skip us down to number 5 there. The culmination of that was really hosting this pandemic lessons learned panel that we had for our virtual general session, which I think went pretty well. I thought there was some pretty interesting stuff that got brought up from all the different sites across the complex. So we definitely had a good time being able to serve in that capacity and then putting together those lessons learned, which I think were pretty valuable. The third accomplishment is creating protective actions and mass notification messaging language spreadsheets. Similar to the template format, what we were doing is getting sites to contribute their mass notifications for different protective actions. So for shelter in place, what are they sending out to the population? And that way everybody can kind of take a look at what other people are doing, really create a forum for that best practices, lessons learned, benchmarking type collaboration. The fourth one is provide a forum for protective action benchmarking, innovation, and collaboration to include sharing best practices, lessons learned on teleconferences. So over the last 2 years, and we carried it on from 2019 to 2020, on all our teleconferences, or for most of them, we had different sites talk about their protective actions, how they were implementing those, what their procedures were, and any lessons learned or pitfalls in that. So those were the major accomplishments from 2019-2020. Moving forward, our objectives, I talked about the templates a little bit, about the E-plan and MOUs, MAAs, that's going to be a big one. We'll continue to move forward with the protective actions and mass notification sharing. There's still, quite a bit of stuff that we can dump in that. I know we're going through some security things on our side. Once we get that, we're going to be dropping a lot in there too. I think that'll be valuable throughout the complex. And then one thing that we we wanted to do on this last year, but we'll carry it forward, is to develop a 3 to 5 year strategic plan, kind of like COOP had and some of the other subcommittees in the past, that talks about our vision, goals, objectives, and aligns with the EMI SIG strategic plan. So a little bit further out than the charter, about 3 to 5 years, kind of what we're looking at. Support required moving forward. Assistance with increasing membership and participation. We've gotten a lot of support from Jen and her folks, and then also from the steering committee throughout the process. So continuing that would be helpful. Opportunities to collaborate with other EMI SIG subcommittees. Like everyone else has said, we're looking forward to that. We've engaged in some of that after the leadership summit. We've had some exchanges and found some pretty good opportunities to continue that. One of them would be the accountability platform, and looking at emergency accountability, COOP accountability, working with SEMTECH and the COOP subcommittee as well. And then the last one is continued awareness campaigning for SEMPER to ensure that's legitimacy and growth of purpose. So kind of ties into the first one, but anytime we can get a plug and anybody thinks of us, we'd be happy if you kept pushing that forward. So, and then the one that's not on here, number 4, is really supporting Jillian and David Silver in their new roles as they take over chair here moving forward. So that's all I have for SEMPER.
Thanks so much, Jesse. I know that Jillian's got some big shoes to fill. And as I believe it was Ray said in the comments, that you are officially the fastest growing subcommittee. So kudos. Job well done first year. You guys really did a lot, and I can't wait to see what Jillian and the group do in the coming years. Now I would like to turn it over to Ben Harm with the Training and Drills Subcommittee. Ben, take it away. Well, it looks like, can you unmute yourself, Ben? *6 on your phone.
There we go. Okay. All right. So just to start off, I'd like to echo what everybody else has said. I know Berna has probably gotten fed up with me at times, as well as Jen, with some of the stuff that we've needed help with from them, but we really appreciate all the support that they have given us. I can't say enough about how enjoyable it actually is to deal with folks that are fun to work with, and Jen and Berna and the whole staff really are fun to work with. So they are so much fun, actually. Both Felicia and I signed up for another tour. So we will be the leadership again next year. A couple of things that we did this year, we revised content in our ETD 101, the Training and Drills online course. And then we got, obviously, drills across the complex kind of got tanked with the pandemic, as well as training. So one of the things that we did was facilitate a virtual presentation by Thomas Anciso at Pantech. And he really led a really neat virtual presentation about how to do virtual drills, which is something that I know most of us had not even really probably thought about before March. And so we had actually over 90 attendees at that teleconference. So one of the other accomplishments we've had is back in 2018 or so, we were averaging 5 or 6 members on our teleconferences, and now we're well over 20 on a regular teleconference. Our current membership is 118. Our DOE advisor is Kenneth Thomas, and our steering committee advisor is Cindy Rowell. So I think we're heading in the right direction. So we've got a couple of objectives for 2021. The first is to collaborate with the other subcommittees to design and develop the emergency management employee onboarding tool. One of the things that I've heard several times throughout is how do we develop our folks? How do we make sure they're ready to go? Because the DOE complex is different than a lot of other off-site emergency management groups. So that's one of the training pieces that we want to put together and distribute for everybody to use. So when you get a new employee, you have kind of a a baseline of courses that you can help them do. And so we're also going to assist with the review and beta testing of the EMAT online course, the social media course put together by EPI, and then the Joint Information Center Management. And then we would love to collaborate with the new EMESC subcommittee that just came out, because drills and exercises kind of go hand in hand. Drills are the training part where you get to coach and kind of help them, and the exercises are the evaluation part. So some support required. Really, we want those opportunities to collaborate with the other subcommittees, and obviously membership and is good, but active participation is better. And I think that's one of the things we've been getting a lot of folks on our calls, a lot of good information shared. So we want to continue that and continue to grow that collaboration. And then one of the other things that we're looking at doing is how do we determine and maintain a site ERO's proficiency during a pandemic, or even when you might have ERO members such as like the consequence assessors that are all teleworking. How do you maintain their proficiency? And so that's one of the things we're going to be looking at as we go through next year. And I think that's really about it. I tend to be brief. So does anybody have any questions for me?
I haven't seen any questions in the chat field, so I think you're good. But yes, I want to just reiterate that you guys have been awesome. You're fun to work with as well most of the time. But yeah, no, just kidding. We enjoy each other's company, but we still get stuff done, son. So I appreciate that. Next, we have Ray Baez with the SEMTECH subcommittee. So Ray, I will turn it over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen. I want to start off with kind of reiterating what everyone else has said. Thank you to the whole EMI SIG support team. This virtual meeting has been pretty remarkable. I commented earlier about being able to attend several sessions at the same time, which is something that I would never be able to do physically. I just have to juggle who's talking and what they're talking about at the same time. But it's definitely information drinking from the fire hose, and it's great. Great way to get all the information out in a good way, especially with how COVID is changing things around. Sorry, I'm going to start my 10 minutes. So I want to give kudos once again to the EMI SIG staff, to my vice chair, Jamie Harrison. She was another rock star, definitely helping me get things done. Daniel Meacham, who is the GIS working group lead. I guess now we call him co-chairs. He was very instrumental in getting the word out on our accomplishments. And of course, Ken Thomas, he's another guy who's, you heard his name several times. Just to kind of hit on how great the support he gives. And then of course, Carol, once again, you're a rock star. And Bernie, the information you give and the support you give, also great. And our steering committee advisor, Ted, he's basically a very good mentor, and he's been very vocal and communicative with me, and also with everyone else. It's great. So thank you guys. Membership. We don't know what we were with 2019, but 2020, 67. I think that's about 12, roughly, that we grew. So we can't go for the fastest growing subcommittee of the year, but at least we put some more people on that membership tally. But just like everyone else was saying, we definitely want more people, but more people that actively participate. So moving to accomplishments, I want to give kudos again to Jamie. She helped spearhead the study that we were doing for incident management systems, and we were able to make several lines of inquiry, which I know several people are kind of shaking. What does that mean? These are not compliance based; these are enabling, and they're only meant to kind of help with sites to look at their own incident management systems inside their EOCs, regardless of the platform. So if you're using VOCI, if you're using WebEOC, EMINS, COPS, any other thing, pen and paper, as long as it does some of these things, it only helps with best practices. And with that, I also want to give kudos to ERASC and SEMPER for their collaboration, because we can't do anything in a fishbowl. We definitely have to collaborate and work with each other to get the best products out. Furthermore, we like Cliff talked about, the UAS working group and the GIS working group were created to definitely kind of enhance their applications of unmanned aerial systems and also GIS across the DOE complex. We're just starting these out. But we seem to have a good feedback, and we know it can only grow from there. Along the same lines, when it comes to those incident management systems, we saw that WebEOC, VOCI, and other systems, Rad Responder, that helps out with that common operating picture. It was supported, so we figured, why not create user groups so that users can actually get together, talk best practices, instead of vendors having to say, hey, they're doing this over there. Over there can talk to you. So that's why the user groups were created. And I saw that in the annual meeting, they were very well supported. And I hope that in the future, it'll just grow from there. So with that, the objectives for next year, of course, is to definitely support those user groups to expand and kind of solidify the best practices that they share, and also help them grow. Also, the working groups, we want to not just have a group of people that want these. We want to kind of enhance what they do at the sites. So any type of UAS programs, GIS incorporation, that's what we want to kind of have a product or an initiative. And of course, we say one, but we're ending up with 3 at least for next year. And then, of course, talking to a collaboration, we have accountability systems. We're looking at not just for COOP, but also for incident accountability, and how we do that, and either the platforms or the methods, and share those best practices so that we can create some enabling lines of inquiry so that everybody can look at that and see everybody across the whole complex is doing something, and we can definitely grow from there. Still have 4 minutes. Looking at support. So Mike had talked about succession planning and looking at new recruits. Everybody's looking to increase their membership, and I definitely tip my hat to Mike for that. We definitely, I got voluntold to be a chair, and from there, we definitely look at succession planning, because we can't do this by ourselves, and we definitely have to kind of build up and continue the works that we started and others started before us. So that succession planning is one thing that we definitely want, as well as the participation from our membership, and see if we can get more representation from DOE sites, aside from the ones that we already have. So like everyone else said, collaboration across other subcommittees. I know that SEMTECH was talked about several times, because we've always wanted to kind of put ourselves in there, and technology it's in everything we do. So we want to kind of standardize that, and definitely want to grow the collaboration that we already do, regardless of how serious we take ourselves, or what, and like and we had said before, we all need to have a sense of humor. So whenever it comes to actually being doing any type of collaboration, we'd have to do it with a mind of happiness and definitely looking forward to things. So final thing is assistance with understanding the DOE enterprise vision. I've heard several times about certain platforms that are being supported, as well as trying to make sure that those platforms and other platforms talk well with each other, so that we can understand how to talk with our membership, how to standardize approaches, how to do better about how we share best practices, or even the stuff that we do at our own sites. So that's why I say for understanding that enterprise vision, especially when it comes to technology acceptance, because I know that Cliff was talking about SQA, and that goes hand in hand with any type of technology that's integrated in any of the emergency management programs across the complex. Lastly, when it comes to the subcommittee itself, future leadership, I got elected again for the chair, so I will be the chair for 2 years. Vice chair, Daniel Meacham has been moved up to vice chair. Jamie, I definitely thank you for your support and for all your leadership. And I hate to see you go, but I'm probably going to pull you back anyway. We have for the UAS working group, it's myself, and GIS working group is Daniel Meacham, and we have a nomination for Thad Kadzierski to be co-chair, but he hasn't said yes or no yet, so now it's out there, Thad. But that's what we look for the future, and onwards and upwards.
I appreciate your sense of humor as well, and to just, yeah, now it's out there, Thad. You're welcome, and I hope you will enjoy working with Ray and crew. The most exciting, well, I can't say most exciting, but one of the greatest accomplishments out of ERASC and this year is the creation of the Emergency Management Exercise Subcommittee. There was a lot of toil in getting this, and it couldn't have a better leader. And I'm just so pleased to announce Darren Cassie as the chair for the newest and the number 10 subcommittee for the Emergency Management Special Interest Group. Darren, I leave it to you. Last but never least.
Jennifer, I certainly appreciate your kind words. First of all, I want to echo what many people have said before me. I want to thank so many people for us to have the ability to develop this exercise subcommittee. We worked very hard, and while we may have shown that the 19 and 20 objectives that were non-applicable, that certainly wasn't the case. We worked very hard to get where we are today, and we have a lot of people to thank for that. DOE support. Without you folks, we wouldn't be here today. And Mr. Jose Barrios, Kenneth Thomas, you guys have been champions. You've worked capes for us, and we certainly appreciate your support. And we look forward to your continued support in the future. Big kudos go out to the steering committee. Robert Gee and Michelle Baker, you guys have been fantastic. And thanks to the entire steering committee. You listened to our proposals. You opened up your hearts and minds to us, and we certainly appreciate this opportunity to serve you in the Department of Energy. Again, we wouldn't be here as well if it wasn't for the Exercise Builder Working Group. The leadership and the members, we worked very hard this past year to get where we are today. To work with Exercise Builder, the new platform we're migrating to, I think we got a lot of great things in the future. You had to sit and listen to me for the entire year, my views, my goals, my visions, and you guys were aboard the entire way. I appreciate that. Special thanks to ERASC team. And I tell you what, Jillian, you've been fantastic. And I tell you what, I've never sat and wished I hadn't contacted you and say, hey, would you be willing to take over this chair? You've filled that position very well. You've done a fantastic job. You led ERASC to places that that are beyond the stars, and for that and for your support, we certainly thank you for that. Huge kudos, huge thank you for everything you've done to Vernon Woods and Jennifer. I tell you what, you've kept me between the ditches. You've kept me out of trouble. You've been fantastic. You've given me so much advice, and I couldn't appreciate it anymore. And lastly, I want to thank all of the current and future EMESC members. As far as the membership goes, it's a brand new membership. It's a brand new subcommittee. So I was very pleased to see that. I didn't see the final numbers, but I think we had close to 30 members for our initial meeting. And being a brand new membership, being a brand new subcommittee, that's pretty exciting. We didn't realize, didn't find out it was official until I believe it was Monday, Jennifer, when it was announced at the late meetings. And so we were so blessed to be able to have a time that we could sit and talk about potential members. And we actually got a lot of things accomplished during that meeting as well. We was able to share our goals. We was able to show some membership. Now, if we look at the screen here, we've got me as the chair. Currently, our vice chair and co-chairs are vacant. And it's that way for a reason momentarily. Again, the ink is still drying on this subcommittee. And I wanted an opportunity for the dust to settle a little bit. I wanted the opportunity for the membership to grow. And we're going to put up a vote electronically during the month of October. And we hope to name those positions, those final positions, by November. Our DOE advisor and steering committee advisors, they're still to be determined. So I'll be anxious to see a hat thrown in the ring. You guys fight for who wants to be our great leadership on that. Vernon Woods, could be more happy to have you as our admin coordinator. You've been fantastic. We love you dearly. And again, I want to thank you so much for introducing me to that wonderful constant commentee during the last EMI SIG. So without further ado, I want to talk about the EMESC briefly. 151 Delta, 151.1 Delta charges us to develop and conduct challenging exercises to ensure safety compliance and continuity of operation both today as well into the future. And if we've learned anything in the past few years from our natural disasters such as hurricanes, wildland fires, the ongoing pandemic, that was exercise planning and implementation plays a truly vital role in our longevity. Additionally, we have learned that we must be prepared to conduct business in unconventional ways, such as through a virtual medium. And I think we've done a fine job of doing so. We ultimately realized that an EMESC would pay dividends in establishing a common and collaborative venue to help answer some of those hard questions that we've recently had to face. We proactively developed an EMESC charter and established goals to build a foundation and develop a strategic plan to accomplish these goals. With some of the goals that we have listed, we identified a lot of things that we needed to accomplish. First of all, to develop and maintain a shared scenario benchmarking database to assist sites in minimizing the impacts of similar scenarios or possibly eliminate the potential of the emergency through proactive exercise mitigation efforts. And number two, to collaborate site-specific exercise-related procedures and checklists, whereby improving individual site exercise processes through shared expertise, lessons learned, and benchmarking activity. And number three is to provide a dedicated platform and support mechanism for exercise professionals to collaborate efforts to ensure compliance while reducing the risk of a site or site's failure to implement a requirement, such as DOE's 151.1 Delta, etc. And number four is to develop a one-stop shop to provide expert advice on the development, execution, and evaluation of DOE and NSA level exercises to include, but not limited to, seminars, workshops, tabletops, functional exercises, full-scale exercises, full participation exercises, virtual exercises, COOP exercises, facility level exercises, and the list goes on and on and on. My intentions here, our intentions here, is to become the icon of professionalism throughout our country. If someone needs to know something about exercises, no matter what type of it is, we want to be able to provide that platform, that we're that one place to go. We're the expertise to go to. And I think we've built a great team to reach that goal. And number five, is to conduct a full review of exercise-related online training modules and to make modifications as applicable. Now, ERASC has done an amazing job, a great job on those exercise training modules. And it's our job, it's our responsibility to continue in the path that they've set before us. And we thank you so much for doing so. Now, we've identified a lot of things we want to accomplish. In order to accomplish that, we've used a cross-functional goals method. We want to do so. So in order to accomplish all of the exercises and all the SMEs and expertise that we plan to do, what we've decided to do was, number one, we've named Patty Billy as the Exercise Builder Working Group Chair. She's going to be the lead from that. And Patty, I'll leave you in capable hands. You're a fantastic person, and I look forward to the great accomplishments with the Exercise Builder Working Group, and know that the EMESC is going to be by your side. They're going to be your champion throughout the entire process. We developed the FPE and FSC Working Group, who's going to be led by Mr. Keith McGuire. We've developed the COOP Exercise Working Group, which is going to be led by Mr. Brian Beach. We've developed the Security and CCON Exercise Working Group, which is going to be led by Randy Ward. And then we've got the Functional Exercise, Tabletop, Virtual Tabletop, and Virtual EUC Working Group. Is going to be led by Mr. Mike Lewis. And then our online exercise training course task group is going to be led by Mr. Rafael Bango. And we've got, and our intentions is to have those teams completely filled, hopefully by November. So we've got a very good plan ahead of ourselves of where we need to be. So our strategic plan moving forward, Jennifer, let me know if I'm getting close to my time, because I have a tendency I can speak for a long time. So what I'd like to talk about is our strategic plan. Our strategic plan is to maintain the EMESC SharePoint site to serve as a dedicated platform and support mechanism for exercise professionals. And we intend to collaborate our efforts that promote compliance while reducing the risk of a site or site's failure to implement a requirement. Also, to develop and maintain a shared scenario benchmarking database to assist sites in minimizing the impacts of similar scenarios with the possibility of eliminating the potential of the emergency through mitigation. And to collect and implement user-suggested improvements to Exercise Builder. Our strategic plan includes to identify and facilitate opportunities for members to participate in seminars, workshops, tabletops, functional exercises, full-scale exercises, full participation exercises, virtual exercises, COOP exercises, facility levels exercises, etc., etc. Our targets include the development and maintain a shared scenario benchmarking database to assist sites in minimizing the impacts of similar scenarios, or possibly eliminate the potential of those emergencies through protective exercise mitigation. And our plan to complete this is to the collection of data that can be maintained and reviewed in the SharePoint that we are soon to develop. And with a target of collaborating site-specific exercise-related procedures and checklists to include exercise package examples, best practices, exercise objectives, and evaluation criteria, whereby improving individual site exercise processes through shared expertise, lessons learned, and benchmarking activity. And we plan to accomplish that by developing our working groups to collaborate efforts to develop an EMI SIG EMESC SharePoint containing exercise package examples, such as for Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. And additional benchmarking activities will include exercise objectives, evaluation criteria, and on and on.
Thank you, Darren. That was
very good.
I gave you a little bit extra just because you're the new kid on the block. So I appreciate it, and I look forward. I'm excited that Patty Billy's on board, and you guys have really hit the ground running. So let that be aware or made aware to all of the other subcommittees that it looks like you guys are already gunning for the best subcommittee of the year. So you have all been warned. Appreciate all of the leaders. EMI SIG wouldn't exist without our subcommittees. So I greatly appreciate all of you in your leadership positions, in volunteering, all of your time. And I'm just so glad that you're pleased with all of your subcommittee coordinators, as I am. I'm so excited to see what this next year has for all of us. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And the steering committee members, you guys are top notch as well. So thank you so much. Thank you for all of the end of the year presentations. And as you can tell, we have been very busy, and it's all thanks to all of the members' works, the efforts, the experience, the expertise, everything. I really appreciate it. Now we're going to continue on with our tradition of a special presentation. This year, it's the history of the National Atmospheric Release Advisory Center. The DOE's National Atmospheric Release Advisory Center at Lawrence Livermore National Lab celebrated its 40th year of operation last year. In honor of that, the lab produced a 17-minute video, which will be shown now. The video gives an introduction to the center, an overview of the center's history, and describes some of the support provided for nuclear accidents over the years. Thanks again, everyone, and enjoy this video.
Welcome to the National Atmospheric Release Advisory Center, located at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in Livermore, California. NARAC is a national and international scientific support center that predicts the effects of hazardous materials released into the atmosphere. The people who work at NARAC are atmospheric scientists, physicists, health physicists, chemists, mathematicians, computer scientists, and engineers. During an airborne hazard emergency or exercise, they quickly go to work in the operations center. The team uses weather data and an advanced computer modeling system to predict the spread of hazardous material in the atmosphere and estimate the potential health risks. This information helps inform emergency responders and government officials so that they can make the decisions that are necessary to protect people. But before an incident ever occurs, NARAC provides computer modeling tools and analyses of airborne hazards that inform emergency plans. In addition to advanced models, the center also develops simpler emergency response plume modeling tools for users outside of the center to run themselves. These tools provide fast initial predictions during an emergency and are used for emergency planning before an incident. The center was the brainchild of visionaries at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory and the Department of Energy, or the DOE, who in the 1970s recognized that there was a need to understand and predict the movement and health impacts of airborne hazards. Dr. Joseph Knox, working under Livermore director Dr. Edward Teller, saw that this was a problem that a national laboratory could help solve by applying multidisciplinary science and Livermore's supercomputers. Dr. Knox and other founders were the first ones in the world to take on the very difficult task of creating operational systems that could provide predictions of airborne hazards. These systems incorporated research on complex terrain, three-dimensional wind, and airborne plume dispersion computer models, along with current weather databases and models of human response to radiation dose. The near real-time model predictions of airborne hazards, along with field measurements, could be used to guide emergency decisions, such as whether people should shelter or evacuate in order to help protect their health and safety. Then, in 1979, when the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant accident occurred in Pennsylvania, LLNL received a telephone call from DOE headquarters asking, could the center help, and how soon? The center became operational and worked around the clock for a 2-week period with the same sacrifice and discipline found in other teams that dedicate themselves to emergency response. Using a newly developed computer modeling system, Livermore scientists generated maps that were used to guide DOE field and aerial measurement teams and to help state and federal officials in determining the impacts from the radiological material potentially released from the plant. Since then, the center has maintained and improved its operational capabilities, has continuously trained and prepared for emergencies, and has stood ready at any moment to respond to an incident. NARAC capabilities continued to advance throughout the 1980s. The second-generation computer system provided huge advances in software automation, allowing for faster collection of weather data and running of computer models. The new system also provided more comprehensive terrain and weather databases so that NARAC models could be easily run anywhere in the US. The need for a sophisticated three-dimensional or 3D modeling system was made clear in 1986, when the worst nuclear power accident in history occurred at the Chernobyl plant in what was then the Soviet Union. That 3D modeling system was needed to track the radioactivity as it spread regionally in different directions over Europe. During the Chernobyl response, NARAC researchers adapted global-scale models to track the radioactive cloud around the world. In addition, they used environmental measurements in Europe combined with the computer model simulations to provide the first estimate of a large release of radioactivity from the Chernobyl plant. This NARAC practice of using field measurements to validate and refine model predictions to make estimates of emissions ensures the most accurate predictions. Laboratory scientists have always worked closely with the Federal Radiological Monitoring and Assessment Center, which coordinates environmental radioactive contamination measurements during emergencies. FFRSC is led by DOE and the Environmental Protection Agency and was established after the 3 Mile Island incident. Together, NARAC and FFRSC are leaders in fusing model predictions with environmental measurements to provide the most complete picture. In the 1980s, NARAC researchers continued to test models using data from scientific field experiments of atmospheric dispersion, including in complex terrain environments. NARAC continued to grow during the 80s and expanded its direct support to numerous sites throughout the DOE complex, Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program sites, and Department of Defense sites. In 1996, NARAC moved into a new, specially designed facility to house NARAC's staff, computer center, and operations center. This new facility, sponsored by DOE, ensured that NARAC would have the computing power and workspace it needed to meet growing demand, and also provided backup electrical power if primary power was lost. NARAC took advantage of a revolution in weather forecast modeling as higher resolution regional weather models became more and more accurate and practical to use. To do this, DOE sponsored a new generation of NARAC models to produce higher resolution regional wind flow and dispersion predictions. During the 90s, NARAC modeled a major tire dump fire near Livermore and the massive oil field fires in Kuwait, providing critical predictions about airborne hazards. NARAC's third-generation central computer system using the new NARAC models became operational in the year 2000. Then, 2001 brought the September 11th terrorist attacks and the anthrax-contaminated letters. These events heightened concerns and brought about expanded interagency cooperation in chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear counterterrorism. As part of that new focus, the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, was created in 2002. Large national counterterrorism exercises, such as the Top Officials 2 exercise involving a hypothetical radiological dispersal device in Seattle, showed a need for improved coordination of plume modeling between federal agencies. DHS led the creation of the Interagency Modeling and Atmospheric Assessment Center, or IMAC, which was established in 2004 to meet that need. DOE and NARAC were designated as the primary provider of radiological and nuclear plume modeling capabilities for IMAC. As it had done since its inception, the center continued to provide detailed pre-incident analyses of the potential airborne impacts from different terrorist and accident scenarios. These analyses were used to help the nation, as well as individual facilities, develop emergency plans and prepare for threats. New web-based software tools provided much easier access to NARAC modeling tools and products and facilitated an explosion in the use of NARAC. The web also provided a method to quickly distribute NARAC, FFRSC, and IMAC products through NARAC-hosted web tools. These easy-to-use tools led to dramatic growth in the use of NARAC throughout the DOE complex, nationwide, and internationally. On March 11, 2011, DOE activated NARAC after the earthquake and tsunami in Japan resulted in severe damage to the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. The center operated 24 hours per day, 7 days a week for many weeks, providing hundreds of predictions about radiation levels near the site, nearby communities, the rest of Japan, and internationally. NARAC researchers were not only producing a record number of predictions, they were also producing many different types of predictions. NARAC was called to provide analyses of possible worst-case releases of radioactivity from the plant, analyses of past and current releases, and hour-by-hour forecasts of atmospheric plume positions for possible new releases. These predictions were used to help guide government decisions on actions that might be needed to protect emergency responders and the public, including U.S. citizens in Japan. This simulation shows the airborne plume as red particles after they are emitted from the damaged plant, located in the center of the map. Most of the time, winds were blowing the plume out over the ocean, but at one point the winds shifted dramatically onshore. This was a critical time period when the plant released radioactivity that contaminated areas in Japan. Increased contamination occurred in areas where precipitation scavenging removed radioactive particles from the air and onto the ground. NARAC scientists predicted this contamination, which was also shown by measurements. Because plant conditions and emissions were unmeasured and unknown, DOE and the government of Japan used environmental measurements combined with model predictions to provide the only way to estimate the amount of radioactivity emitted from the plant. The center was also asked to predict the very low levels of radioactivity that were transported across the Pacific. In this animation, the different color particles represent airborne radioactivity emitted on different days. It shows the effect of the complex weather patterns. These predictions were later verified by small levels of radioactivity measured on the west coast of the U.S. Livermore scientists, working closely with DOE and other government agencies, leveraged their experience from the Fukushima emergency and other previous exercises and incidents over the years to improve the understandability and usability of NARAC and IMAC products. They are now able to tailor products for different types of users, from field responders to state and local officials to senior federal officials, and for both technical and non-technical audiences. For example, they can tailor a product for senior federal officials who need high-level summaries in plain, non-technical language to answer key questions such as what happened, what are the impacts to health and safety, and what key decisions need to be made to protect the people. To more quickly distribute predictions to emergency responders and officials, Livermore researchers developed tools to export hazard maps and reports quickly into DHS and FEMA information systems. Center staff have also continued to develop and deploy pre-incident emergency planning tools and analyses that show potential airborne hazard impacts, including model simulations for specific scenarios for typical weather patterns. In 2014, when a small amount of radioactivity was released at the waste isolation pilot plant in New Mexico, the plant and DOE asked NARAC to predict the potential downwind effects of the radioactivity. Using on-site weather observations and regional weather models, NARAC simulated the dispersion of airborne particles emitted from the plant, with particles initially being carried to the northwest of the plant and later being carried in other directions as the wind changed. Using plant measurements of emissions in the NARAC dispersion predictions, the center provided estimates of potential downwind effects of the radioactivity. NARAC predicted radiological dose for different areas, shown in shades of green on the right, and plant measurement data were used to show government agencies and the public that radiation dose levels were below levels of concern, even for long-term health risks. NARAC predictions were verified using environmental radioactivity air sampler measurements, and they were used to predict radiation dose expected at locations where no measurements were available. In 2017, NARAC analyzed the potential causes of low levels of ruthenium-106 radioactivity detected in the air over Europe at the locations shown by the small circles on the map. Mysteriously, there was no initial indication of the source of the release into the air. NARAC, as well as scientists in several other countries, analyzed the data and prevailing winds to determine a possible source. NARAC applied research techniques that used the air concentration measurements, weather models, atmospheric dispersion models, and innovative statistical methods, boosted by machine learning techniques, to estimate the probable release location, the amount of material released, and the time of release. The map shows the lower and higher likelihood areas for the release location. That same year, NARAC completed work on an operational, fast-running, high-resolution computational fluid dynamics model called AOLIS, sponsored by the Department of Homeland Security. This model is capable of simulating the details of dispersion and deposition of hazardous materials around buildings much more quickly than previous models of this type. NARAC researchers use Aeolus model simulations to determine the airborne spread and deposition onto buildings from hypothetical releases of potentially hazardous material in downtown city locations. Aeolus was also used to analyze potential low levels of contamination around buildings at the Department of Energy's Hanford site to help ensure safe operations there. Today, researchers continue to improve NARAC computer models, software tools, and operational capabilities. Updated models can be used to make more accurate predictions because they use more fundamental physics and higher resolution simulations. NARAC scientists are also conducting research on next-generation nuclear detonation cloud rise, rainout, and fallout models, shown in the animation here. In other research, scientists are now able to simulate atmospheric flows from regional down to local scales simultaneously because of improvements in computer power and atmospheric modeling methods. The leftmost image shows a regional area of the south-central US where weather is being simulated. At the same time, higher and higher resolution simulations are done, including the rightmost, highest resolution simulation that includes the details of flow around buildings, which is significantly influenced by weather in the larger areas. Scientists are validating the new computer models using historical and new field experiments. Additionally, researchers are incorporating uncertainty quantification and probabilistic and ensemble methods in weather and plume model simulations to be able to predict the range of possible outcomes. NARAC staff are also developing an improved fourth-generation operational central computer system with modern software technologies. This will enable use of the increasingly large volumes of geographical, meteorological, and field measurement data, and use of future advances in computer models. Looking back at what NARAC's visionary founders started, we can see what a monumental task it was, and how over more than 4 decades, their vision was fulfilled and expanded upon by some very talented teams of people. This was done with focus on both operational emergency response and related research. This work was made possible by strong partnerships with operational and research organizations in the US and around the world. Tomorrow, NARAC will continue to build on its original vision. In the future, we expect to use higher performance exascale computing. The center will produce higher fidelity models that are enabled by an increasing array of higher resolution data sources and advances in mathematical and statistical techniques, such as artificial intelligence. The center will continue to develop the next generation of operational scientists, software experts, and researchers who will develop and improve advanced training programs to maintain high levels of expertise in NARAC staff and in NARAC users. The center will continue striving to provide the best possible support to our users, sponsors, and partners, and to help protect people by providing accurate and easily usable predictions of hazards. Thank you very much for listening to our story. You can find additional information on our website at narac.lnl.gov.
I hope you enjoyed that special presentation. And now I would like to let you know that you'll have to wait just a little bit longer to watch the always anticipated 2020 EMI SIG Annual Awards. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, everybody. And now we're on to the much anticipated 2020 EMI SIG Annual Awards. And introducing this, I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming our Vice Chair of the Steering Committee, Daniel Gleaves from Pantex. Daniel, take it away.
Thanks, Jennifer. Just a quick introduction myself. I'm Daniel Gleaves. I'm the Vice Chair of the EMI SIG Steering Committee. I'm the Pantex Emergency Services Director. Have been doing that job for about 6 years. So to all of you viewers out there, I want to tell you good afternoon and welcome you to the awards ceremony. I would be remiss if I did not talk a little bit about COVID. So COVID has changed a lot of things for us. It's impacted our personal work, our work lives. Those of us that are emergency management professionals, it's probably had you work harder over the last few months than you did previously. From a personal perspective, our interactions are down because we are staying at home. We're not going out and exposing ourselves a lot. So COVID really has changed a lot. COVID had the potential to impact EMI SIG, the annual meeting. It really did. But I'm going to tell you, reflecting back on the previous 2 weeks, reflecting back on the presentations I've watched, the social interactions that we've all participated in, it didn't impact it. And that's a thanks to you. Thanks to you for presenting. Thanks to you for spending your time attending. Thanks to Jennifer Hutchins and her team who did all of the hard work behind the scenes. And most of all, thanks to Mr. Barrios for leading us down this path and insisting that we were going to have an annual meeting one way or the other. So with that being said, I truly believe that this has been a great SIG. We have missed the face-to-face interactions, but we'll be able to do that next year. But for this SIG, it met the mark. It was a great SIG, and I think everybody agrees. Okay. So with that being said, we'll start the awards presentation for the year. I know that everybody waits for this to see who wins the award, so we'll get started. The first award that we're going to present is the Mobile Mogul Award. So Raymond Baez won it this year with 242 points. To give you a little background on this award's all about interactions with the Attendify system. So liking comments, providing comments, and Raymond won this year. This year's runner-up is the first year's winner, David Stuhan. So this makes 2 years that Mr. Stuhan has not won this award. Let's keep it up. Somebody else wins next year, and keep David off the throne. So, Raymond, I appreciate your interaction. You really are an integral part of SIG, and you've really plugged into this virtual SIG this year. So much appreciated. The next award goes to the best SBX exhibit. So this year, that award goes to Thad Kedzierski for the Active Threat SBX. We'll move on to Best Presentation. This year's award will go to Ivy Olberding, Melissa Douglas, and Daniel Meacham for their presentation on Design Basis Threat and the EPHA and the quick guide to technical planning basis in support of design basis threat. So thank you guys, great presentation, had high attendance and a lot of good feedback. Okay, without further ado, we'll move right along to the Federal Member of the Year. This year's winner is Roy Kearns from the Lawrence Field Office. Roy Kearns joined the DOE Oakland office in 1992. In 1997, he came to Lawrence Livermore National Lab and worked with the waste management and then environmental restoration before moving to emergency management in 2005. Roy has been a champion of the Lawrence Livermore Emergency Management Program organization, working with the contractor staff to not only ensure compliance, but also to contribute to their success. He conducts detailed and thorough reviews of all EM documentation, provides insightful comments, makes reasonable decisions, does not offer praise or findings lightly, and establishes high expectations for the contractor. Roy is deeply involved in the day-to-day operations of the Lawrence Livermore National Labs EM program. He regularly ensures deliverables and corrective action tasks are not falling behind, and offers good advice when his opinion is frequently requested. Roy's assessment of program elements are thorough, and his findings and improvement items are always beyond dispute. In his 15 years as an SME for EM at Lawrence Livermore, Roy has helped shepherd the EM program at the site to maturity, and in doing so has helped ensure the lab is prepared to handle a wide variety of emergency situations and ensure employees and offsite populations are protected. Roy is a model oversight representative for emergency management, and Lawrence Livermore is lucky he's a member of their EM family. So congratulations, Roy. Very, very good. Next up, we'll move to the Contractor of the Year. This year's 2020 Contractor Member of the Year award goes to Jesse Sievers from Los Alamos National Lab. Jesse has significantly contributed to the EMI SIG community over many years and recently served as the founding chair for the new subcommittee for emergency management planners, otherwise known as SEMPER. Jesse was instrumental in getting this new subcommittee off the ground, recruiting members, and tackling mutual challenges on behalf of all EMI SIG members. Jesse also led an effort of gathering COVID-19 response lessons learned across the complex, which resulted in a multi-site panel discussion at this year's meeting. Jesse was also instrumental in leading a forum for benchmarking protective actions among different sites. Jesse not only contributes to EMI SIG, but has been a constant champion on comprehensive emergency management program improvements and enhancements at LANL, is always willing to share best practices and lessons learned with others. Congratulations, Jesse. I've worked directly with you, and you truly are a valuable member of this community. The next award we'll move on to is the Subcommittee of the Year award. This year's winner is the Subcommittee on Emergency Management Technology, SEMTECH. I'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the outstanding leadership of Raymond Baez and Vice Chair Jamie Harrison. Through their leadership, the SEMTECH members have achieved the following. They've increased SEMTECH membership to include representation from throughout the DOE complex. They've developed lines of inquiry for incident management systems. They've created work groups for unmanned aerial systems and geographical information systems, established WebEOC, VOCI, and RAD responder user groups. They did all this all while having created a sense of community within the SEMTECH community and increasing membership and participation across the subcommittees. So at this point, I would like to turn it over to our chair, David Stuhan, to present some special recognitions and thanks.
All right, thank you, Daniel. And it's one of the best parts of the EMI SIG is being able to give these awards. But we also have some special recognition that we wanted to go over today as well. First, I want to talk about Eugene McPeak, a special recognition for him. He's a retired deputy fire chief of the City of Albuquerque Fire Department and former emergency manager of Albuquerque and both Bernalillo County. He's a retired sergeant major, U.S. Marine Corps, and was deployed during Gulf War with D Company, 4th Recon Battalion. He also served during Operation Enduring Freedom as a sergeant major of Combined Joint Task Force, Consequence Management, Southwest Asia. Eugene has been with Sandia National Laboratories since 2006 and served as the Emergency Management Operations Manager and Emergency Manager until this year when he accepted a position as the Special Projects Manager for Facilities at Sandia. Although he transitioned into another position, he's remained fully engaged in EMI SIG and dedicated to its success. Eugene has been a member of EMI SIG since 2006 and has served on the steering committee since 2013. Eugene has significantly contributed to making EMI SIG the amazing organization we are today, and he should be extremely proud of that. On behalf of the EMI SIG steering committee, we want to express our sincerest thanks to Eugene for his exceptional service and outstanding contributions to EMI SIG and DOE NNSA emergency management. Congratulations to Eugene, and we wish him best of luck in retirement. Thank you, Eugene. Next, I want to give a recognition to Daniel Gleaves from Pantex. On behalf of the steering committee, I'd like to give you a special thanks and recognition, Mr. Gleaves. He's our vice chair of the EMI SIG steering committee representing the Pantex plant. Daniel is fully engaged and dedicated to the goal of improving emergency management at his site at Pantex, supporting Y12 and throughout the DOE NNSA enterprise. Daniel's enthusiasm is contagious, and he's able to bring the best out of all of those folks that he works with at his site, among EMI SIG and others. Daniel's had a focus on continuous improvement and works to make things better today, better than they were yesterday. In spite of his busy schedule at Pantex, he's always willing to give EMI SIG his best efforts. He's dedicated to make EMI SIG successful. He models these behaviors. He encourages it from the folks that works for him at Pantex. As you can see, several of his employees serve in leadership roles within EMI SIG. During COVID-19, Daniel has demonstrated the core principles of EMI SIG by sharing best practices, lessons learned, and simply giving his knowledge and time to others across the DOE and NNSA enterprise. It truly makes us all better. Thank you, Daniel, for your incredible efforts, dedication to EMI SIG, as well as emergency management. We appreciate you. Last but not least, I want to give recognition to Jose Barrios. We all know him as JB. He's fully supported EMI SIG since 2015. His leadership style, his sense of humor, his unwavering support throughout all these emergency management policy complexities really has allowed EMI SIG community to thrive, all of us, while building a brighter future for emergency management around the DOE and NNSA enterprise. Jose leads by influence, empowerment, and encouragement, which is in the foundation of a great leader. Often Jose will state, "Thou shalt never use a 5,000-mile screwdriver in attempt to fix a problem thou doesn't understand." We've all heard that. Jose understands the important role and relationship between headquarters and the field. Although he may not take out that screwdriver himself and start turning it from headquarters, he's more than eager and willing to put his hands on top of yours and assist with turning the screwdriver in the direction that you desire. I won't cover the other 9 commandments Jose speaks of due to the risk of offending someone. Jose tackles issues head on and is never afraid to fight a battle worth fighting for. He listens and takes seriously the advice provided by federal and contractor stakeholders, and he thoroughly studies and understands DOE and NNSA emergency management policy, and he always makes reasonable decisions in support of all of us. He works tirelessly to provide tools and technology and has thrusted us into the 21st century, which has made work easier for all of us across EMI SIG and DOE and NNSA enterprise. Jose is engaged, has very high expectations, big goals, and is respected by all of the EMI SIG steering committee members and by the emergency management professionals across the complex. On behalf of the EMI SIG steering committee and all of our EMI SIG members, thank you, JB, for your leadership, dedication to EMI SIG, and for investing into building a stronger and more resilient future for emergency management across the complex. So thank you, sir. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our humble leader from NA 41, Jose Barrios.
Well, thank you, David. That was very unexpected and undeserving. Nothing that happens in the EMI SIG and whatever success I gain is through you and through all the folks that we have around us. So it's been a very, very good EMI SIG. There's a lot of folks at first that thought, why are we going to do this? It just doesn't make sense. Well, sometimes things don't have to make sense, yet it's still the right thing to do. So I greatly appreciate all the support and all the work that's done into this. I will I will never say enough to thank the the NA 41 support team, Jen Hutchins, the folks in Albuquerque that put all the advisors, the steering committee, the chairs, with the work that they put into making this a reality as the first virtual EMI SIG. It is Jen and the crew moved mountains to get this stuff done. And if I may say so myself, it went way beyond my expectations. Even though I told them, listen, it's not going to be perfect. It's okay. It's not going to be perfect. You know what? I think it can get any more perfect than this. It was flawless. It was extremely professional. It was responsive. It was agile. So my hat goes off to, no kidding, probably the best group of professionals in putting something like this together in a very short order. And also to our Alliance AV support. For those of you that do not know, this is the first that Alliance has had to do at this magnitude since the COVID-19. And I'm telling you, they have knocked it out of the park. The quality, the support has been unbelievable. So thank you to everybody behind the scenes that made this EMI SIG possible. Also, to all the EMI SIG members, I had, as Ray Bias indicated, I had the opportunity to watch 2 or 3 presentations at the same time, as most of you probably noticed, because I'll be listening to one, going back on the spirit of this synchronization and cooperation and vision, that I would hear something in the presentation, hear something in another one. I said, oh, you got to talk to this person, you got to talk to that person. So the bridge that we embarked on as the theme for this EMI SIG, I'm telling you, we're way past, we're way across, we're now on the other side. And I'm very pleased with it. The quality of the presentations, the detail of the presentations, the expertise behind all the meticulous data points that were in those presentations, it is not short of impressive. So let's keep it up. Let's continue to drive forward. Let's move beyond the bridge, 21st century and beyond. Yeah, we just received the subcommittee briefings a few minutes ago, about an hour ago, and all the subcommittees are right on point. Right on point. It's just, we just got to go out and do it. And the opportunities are there. I will support you. My staff will support you. I know David Stuhan, the steering committee and the chairs, we're here to support you. And with that said, one of the key points that I want to make is participation or membership is great. Our membership numbers are outstanding. I think the first day the numbers were right. We had like 686 hits on the first day, which is amazing. But one thing is to be a member. I challenge all of you to be active members, active participants to all the different subcommittees. You know, if you don't participate, if you don't voice your opinion, then you can't complain later. Bring your ideas in, bring your initiatives in, so that we can. It makes all of us better. So I challenge you that that you participate actively in all the subcommittee meetings, and tap into some other subcommittee just to see what they're working on. So that's my challenge to you. Use a EDMS. EDMS is your platform. I was very impressed with some of the FFRSC, some of the training tools that have come out, and the training videos, some of the planning tools from SEMPER, the templates, all that stuff. We have the mechanism. We have the platform. It's called EDMS. We can control what goes in there. Let's maximize that platform. Let's maximize that tool. So I greatly appreciate all the work. It was, in my opinion, a fantastic EMI SIG. I look forward to next year's EMI SIG and looking forward to having it in person. I think the only, and I won't say negative, the only regret or point that's been brought up to me is that human interaction, that being able to do, as I call it, drive-by shootings after a presentation, where you can sit down with somebody and actually go into the nitty-gritty of some level of information or some particular action. That's what makes those face-to-face conferences and meetings so valuable. So thank you very much. Great EMI SIG. Congratulations to all the winners. Very well deserved. I wish we could provide awards to everybody, but that's not the way the new generation, that's the new generation. I'm old generation. So not everybody gets a trophy. So greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a very safe rest of the year. Take care of yourselves. Continue to engage. And if there's anything that I can do for you personally, or the steering committee, or Dave, or anybody in the committee in the headquarters, please let us know. Please take care of yourself. Thank you very much for a great EMI SIG. Thank you.